This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I am your host, Jason McIntyre. A special 2-hour Speak For Yourself on FS1 on Thursday. Very exciting. Full show for you today, folks. Let's start with LeBron and the Cavs. Whitlock says the weak competition in the East does not diminish what LeBron is doing, and he raises his approval rating to a solid 75%. Cowherd argues that the Celtics should take Paul Pierce's advice and trade the number 1 pick because Markelle Fultz could only win 9 games at Washington. NFL Hall of Famer Chris Carter details why he is all in on the McGregor-Mayweather fight and says he will go to Vegas and wear a hat with Whitlock for the fight. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard disagrees and advises the Celtics to let Avery Bradley go, draft Fultz, and sign Gordon Hayward. Hey, Broussard, you don't need to let Avery Bradley go. Why would you do that? Special guest joining the show today, actor and a host of his own podcast, Michael Rapaport. He takes issue with Lonzo Ball and says Lonzo wouldn't make the Lakers any closer to a playoff team. He's wrong, of course. Plus, co-host of The Herd, Christine Leahy. Boy, she's really been in the news a lot this week. She explains how the now famous, or should we say infamous, interview with LaVar Ball went and how things have turned more ugly on social media. Finally, Super Bowl champ Eric Davis explains why Tom Brady should not be concerned with his wife Gisele's comments about concussions. Ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd and Whitlock, take it away.
Joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard, actor, producer, comedian, host of the I Am Rapaport podcast, Michael Rapaport. Great seeing you. Again, LeBron was dominating last night, best player on the planet. LeBron had another huge game, leading Cleveland in a romp over the Celtics in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Too easy. LeBron's got everybody in awe this postseason, including the great Boston coach, the young Brad Stevens.
You know, I just said in the coaches' meeting right before we left, it's hard to believe, but he's better than when I got into the league, a lot better. And just as you get older, you gain more experiences, you see more things. Yeah, I didn't think he could get any better after that, but he is. He's a good player, great player.
Yeah, it was definitely a fill-out game. You know, we kind of know what they want to get to. They kind of know we want to get to, but you know, after 10 days off, I didn't feel that great, but I know I feel a lot better going into Game 2. You know, so I'm looking forward to the challenge.
All right, you see there why he's so impressed. LeBron absolutely rolled over the weak Eastern Conference since returning to Cleveland. All right, Whitlock, as part of LeBron's greatness, aided by the weak competition.
Yeah, it's certainly aided. That does not mean it diminishes his greatness, but it certainly is aided. Look, who's Jay Crowder? You know, Barkley, Malone, when they clash, Tim Duncan against Karl Malone, or, you know, Shaq. Just Shaq. LeBron's not meeting a lot of resistance. Is this great? Yes. But, again, they've started this super team and the players collecting everybody around. It's hard to know. It's hard to judge.
But are you falling, I think you're falling into the romanticizing the past. So Michael got 6 titles off 5 teams. None won a title. The Utah team, we're absolutely sure they're great. So Michael retires. Utah doesn't get to the finals. Michael retires a second time. They can't get out of the first round. That's the Karl Malone MVP year. How good was Michael's competition in the end?
I'm talking about just great players.
But I'm saying great.
Karl Malone was a great player.
I'm not
a lot of great players in the league.
By the way, Damian Lillard's a great player.
No.
The Warriors have
Boston's
in the West.
Team? Yeah. Isaiah Thomas is 5'9". There was a gif last night of Isaiah just like had him in a headlock and was going up for a dunk like a little child. And Isaiah Thomas is a great player, but he's 5'8". That's the second best player, or that's the best competition he's facing. Jay Crowder? Al Horford?
Hey, the SEC hasn't been this weak in a decade. Is Nick Saban less great?
No, because he if you get it done in the end, which he didn't this year, that's what it'll measure. Let's see what LeBron does in the finals. He's playing phenomenal basketball. I can't believe I'm saying this in his 14th year. It's the best that I've ever seen him play. I think the pressure is off of him after winning it last year over a 73-win team, and he is just relaxed like a father playing with his sons. That said, playing in the East does give him more achievements. He would not be working on his 7 straight finals if he was in the West. And that's just fair to say because it's proven because his Eastern teams got beat by teams in the West in the finals. So that's what he's aided by. But the way he's playing, I just can't wait to see if he can do this against Golden State.
Even if he does this against Golden State, he's not skating through the Golden State Warriors. That's not happening. They're going to be banging. I think it's going to go down to the last 3 or 4 minutes of Game 7 again. They're going to play basketball. The party's going to be over when it gets to the finals, period, barring injury.
But can I give LeBron credit for this? Is that Amazon is retailing weaker. Some of that's Amazon creates desperation, and CEOs get less time to catch Amazon. The SEC's fired 70 coaches since Saban started. The Eastern Conference is running through coaches. LeBron's creating some of this weakness where owners are less patient, GMs are less patient.
He joined up with Kyrie and Kevin Love. That creates weakness.
Yeah.
And so, again, I just want to be clear on this because I don't want to diminish him. What the dude's doing is great. But you said it's the best we've seen LeBron, which is true. Is this not the weakest we've seen the East and his competition? When he was at Miami, there was better competition.
Yeah. No question. You had a big 3 in Boston. You had a great team in Chicago with Derrick Rose.
Very good team in Indiana.
Yeah, I think this year's East, as bad as it is, was probably better than last year's East.
Really?
Yeah, I mean...
But Toronto was better last year.
Were they?
Kyle,
they let Toronto win 2 games. I know it took them 6, but I think Cleveland could have swept them.
But we would have loved to have Toronto at least win 1 game this year.
I think the Cavs are just more honed in.
I agree.
LeBron, again, with
like
the
the
pressure
Matrix.
off of him. It's all him.
Can we
it's
stop?
all him.
Let's not over... The West ain't great either. Did you watch Houston's last game?
They got better
They're
players,
still
man.
much better.
Okay, better players.
Three of the 4 best teams in the league are in the West. You have to admit that.
And don't blame the Houston. Blame the magic of James Harden, which should be performing in Vegas this summer along with David Copperfield. Disappearing act. The magic of James Harden. That should be like a traveling Vegas show.
I've said this. I don't think the East is great, but I think we're over-romanticizing the West. Houston, in the end, embarrassed themselves.
James Harden.
They
That was it.
embarrassed
Colin,
themselves.
did you look at the All-NBA teams? 4 of the first 5 players in the East.
I'm not
On the West.
I'm sorry, in
I'm
the
not
West.
denying the West has more good players.
And teams.
San
It's
Antonio
just
got hurt.
Utah, Clippers.
But 3 of the 4 best teams, right, are in the West.
Okay, but don't tell me Houston's here and Boston and Washington are here. It ain't that big of a gap, is it? Am I wrong?
It's a gap, though.
There's a gap.
It's a gap.
Look, man, he's not facing a lot of resistance. That's just a fact. That's not a knock on him.
No.
What he's doing is great, but the resistance isn't strong, and or you can trace it to Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, whomever.
No.
They started this super team stuff, and everybody gathering up, and let's find an easy way to the title. And he destroyed the East, in my opinion, doing this. And I'm just sorry. What I think is going on with a lot of Eastern Conference and even the Western Conference teams, just like you and I sat here and it's going to be Golden State and Cleveland. The players are smart enough to figure it out, and they don't have the energy or the emotion or the intensity because they know, like, it's going to be Golden State and Cleveland.
In fairness to LeBron, I don't think it's because he's got a super team that they're running through the East. Put him on any team in the East,
could
and
take
I
us
think
5.
this would be happening.
But he could
Really.
take the Brooklyn Nets, literally. If you give him a couple,
Put him there in training camp, and they go to the finals.
They're at least going. They're going close. They're going to be competitive.
No
they're
question.
going to go to the Eastern Conference
But here,
Finals.
prime example.
He's that good.
But again, should we give some credit? Kevin Durant could have gone to Washington.
But he did not go because of LeBron.
Okay,
It
Paul
wasn't-
George is leaving the East. You know,
Yeah, he's trying to go home.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's
All
that.
right,
I
I'm
don't
throwing
think
it
They're
out
running
there.
from LeBron.
They're not
I just
running.
think
Because going to the West is
ain't a
no
party.
picnic. All right,
All
you're
I-
not beating
Okay,
Golden
so
State.
we acknowledge the West has a bunch of great players. We would all acknowledge the NBA now has some really great players.
a lot.
And we would acknowledge Michael had great players. The gap between LeBron and 2 is wider than Michael and 2. Is it not?
I'm not sure. It's a huge gap in both cases.
I mean, look-
who was two to Jordan?
Yeah, who?
I don't know. There were
Barkley,
No.
Malone. They're not
Charles
close.
Barkley.
Yeah.
Hey,
There was
that
nobody
Phoenix team
close.
took him 6.
Six.
That Utah team would have
6.
taken him 7 with 1 call.
Six.
They made
But
him
they were
struggle.
Yeah, they made him work a little
Hey,
bit more.
Utah made
But
Jordan
LeBron's
struggle
had to
twice,
work in
Jason.
his finals.
Stockton and Malone.
Yeah.
LeBron's
And a
had to
damn
work
hell
in
of
his
a
finals,
coach,
Kyle.
Jerry.
And his finals last year, they won all power to them. But it could have went. It came down to the last 2 minutes and an incredible LeBron play.
2 of LeBron's championships could have went either way. The Ray Allen
Yes.
shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then last year,
Yes.
I'm not taking anything away from
Yeah,
him. I'm
he
just
won
saying, you're saying Jordan got pushed to 6 when LeBron, I mean, it was miraculous shots that helped him win a
Broussard
championship.
always tells me, I'm not taking anything away from LeBron. That's how all your sentences start.
This guy is one of the biggest LeBron guys.
All right, welcome back. Chris Carter, Hall of Famer, Michael Rappaport here. They're back. Let's move to some major news in the fight world. Dana White revealed yesterday that he's finalized a deal with Conor McGregor for the long-rumored fight with Floyd Mayweather, and that he is now beginning negotiations for the Mayweather side of the deal. McGregor confirmed the deal on his website yesterday and added some trash talk on Twitter just for good measure. Of course he did, posting a picture of his son among his UFC belts saying, "Let's go get some boxing ones now, son." Whitlock, Floyd's undefeated as a boxer, nearing the end of his stellar career. Is he risking his reputation on a gimmick match like this?
In order for there to be risk, there would have to be the possibility of him losing a boxing match to Conor McGregor. There is no possibility of that, so the only thing he's risking is tripping on his way to pick up that check.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only risk.
Stubbing his toe could happen more than him getting knocked out or beaten by Conor McGregor.
But his brand is perfection. Money in perfection.
He's going to win. He's going to win. There's going to be pillow fights that were tougher than this. This is going to make the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight look like Ali Frazier. It's going to make it look like Hagler-Hearns. This is going to be the end of big business boxing as we know it. Because people are going to be so insulted that they spend $99, $79 to go watch this pillow fight. It's a puppy fight. It'd be like two puppies fighting.
I'm glad Fox is going to be a part of it so we can go for free. But it is something that I would like to see.
Yes.
I think it could be fairly entertaining, and it also speaks to the state of boxing.
Yes.
You mean all those thousands of boxers they got out there, they can't find someone else than someone like Conor McGregor? Is this the top of the food chain?
No. Floyd is retired.
Yes.
He's coming out of retirement to collect a check, not to fight.
Okay.
And so there's only one guy that can generate enough money for him to come out of retirement to go pick up a check, and it'll be Conor McGregor.
And because of his last few fights have been less than entertaining, they had to get some type of circus act to be able to get people involved.
And these guys are going to promote it better than anybody. They both talk. Conor McGregor, it's a white dude, black dude. There's going to be all these underlying stuff. He's Irish. They should do it in the Garden on St. Patty's Day. Let him go nuts. Let him go crazy.
You got to do this in Vegas. But I will say that the underlying elements, the racial conflict that will be between boxing fans and MMA fans.
It's going to be great.
Yes, it will be Bird and Magic all over again.
If Mayweather has no chance to lose, as you suggest.
No chance to win.
No
chance
Mayweather
to
has
lose.
no chance to lose.
Sorry.
But McGregor, think about this. What's his loss? If he landed a punch, one solid one, we would say the next day, more than Pacquiao.
As long as he picks up the check, he's a winner.
The winner's here, there's no
loser.
loser.
Get hurt. He's not going to get hurt the worse than the Nate Diaz fights.
And so what the problem, y'all think it's just a potential black eye for boxing. I think it could be a bad look for all of fighting if these guys get in the ring and Mayweather just toys around with the guy and then it's over.
The same thing he's done the last 10 fights?
And nothing happens. There's going to be dissatisfaction with both parties. It was like, oh, this was just a gimmick for Mayweather to get $100 million and McGregor to get $40 million. It's a money grab. I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to go out to Vegas, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it, and we'll talk about it here. We're joined by Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon and Super Bowl champ Eric Davis. We're going to start in the NFL, where everyone is talking about Tom Brady after his wife Gisele Bundchen told CBS he had an unreported concussion last season and has been hiding concussions for years. A lot of people were shocked that Gisele would put Tom's business out there like that, including our good friend Terry Bradshaw, who said, quote, "My wife would never say that. I would imagine someone's having a talk with somebody." All right, Colin, you're married. Should Brady be bothered by Gisele's comments?
I don't know if bothered's the right word, but I always want to speak for myself. Everybody should, and especially in my career, because my career doesn't just affect me. I work with you. We have multiple, this show's got 30 people on it. Let's say Tom Brady was a corporation. Well, he kind of is. Yeah. But he was a corporation.
Right.
And she had said, what goes on at that corporation? Stock dives, 8,200 employees out of work. Tom Brady is not just a player. Like Tom Brady now is a lot of things. There's clothing lines, there's nutritional. So if you're talking about Tom being dishonest, that's not great for Tom, his brand, his products. He employs perhaps dozens or hundreds of people. He is sort of a mini corporation.
But she's not an average brand. I mean, she's not an average person or a housewife either. She's a brand.
Yes.
And she knows more about branding probably than Tom does because she's been doing it a lot longer as a high fashion model. And so I think she understands what she said publicly, and I'm sure they probably talked about that.
Would you be
that
bothered?
she could talk about it. If I talked about it with her first, no, I wouldn't. But if I didn't, yeah, I'd be bothered. No question about it, because you don't want to reveal anything because it's like a chink in your armor. You know, you want to be invincible as a player, and you never want your organization to think you were ever hurt.
That's a really good point.
Especially
that's
as you get older.
Really good point.
This is cut from the same cloth as, remember Steph Curry and his wife last year when she got upset at the officiating and went off and over Twitter. And it was like, hey.
Oh, this is different.
But see, I don't think but she wasn't upset.
This is different.
Why is this different?
She went off on the refs doing everything.
Yeah.
This right here.
This is voluntary.
You talked about Tom Brady being, hundreds of things and all these different things and him being a corporation. Well, one thing that he is her husband. And this is just a wife talking about her concern for her husband. So should he be bothered by that? No. Should Steph have been bothered by his wife going off on the refs and all? Yes, that's different.
Yeah.
She's talking about the health of her husband. Now, from that aspect of it, he should not be bothered that his wife is just concerned. That's the issue.
But let me throw this at you, though. This is not just a gender thing. Right. Derrick Rose's brother, Michael Vick's brother, have at times taken shots at people or opened up a narrative. And a lot of times, Derrick Rose or Michael Vick are left to explain what a family member did. That can be difficult.
Listen, again, the question is, should he be bothered? I'm probably on the no side because, again, when you say I do, that means you're saying I do to a lot of things that are going to bother
you. I do have to deal with you saying how you feel about me when you're a model and people want to interview you.
Right. And so, but I'll just say this. Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, the NFL, they're probably bothered because this isn't a line of communication they want opened up where wives start talking about the health of their husbands that are players, because that's an uncontrolled, that's Genie's bottle you're opening up, and that can go anywhere.
But Warren mentioned something, too, that it's important. Gisele is richer than Tom.
Right.
She is more international than Tom. When you marry a strong woman who herself is a star, Beyonce, Jay-Z, they're going to be asked a million questions.
I'm not going to put money on it, because here's where I think she's operating from, and I've been saying it forever. She wants the dude to retire.
Well, I think so.
They've got kids, and she's sitting there saying, hey, man, you've got 5 Super Bowls, you're 40 years old, I get your ego gets off on this, but damn it, I want you here with me and the kids,
you think
able to function.
Yeah. Which is why I say that this is just simply a product of her being concerned about her husband. I agree with you and you when you're saying she wants him to stop. Why risk the injury? And she's saying, I know for a fact that you've had these injuries, and it's an issue right now, but I don't think he's bothered by his wife having that concern to answer the question.
And I know the Patriots aren't happy about this because of all the things that they've been involved in over the last couple of years. Now this is more of maybe keeping injuries away from the league.
But it's interesting. Warren touched on this. He said, when you're a quarterback or any football player, it's really, there's an armor. Now I think, hey, he's had 7, 8, 9 concussions. Is that something?
Right.
I don't, because I think most people kind of assume it. I think that's not pervasive, but it's common around the league that guys are covering up concussions. Their wives know about it. It's a decision they've made within the home. We're going to take this risk, make this money, provide for our kids and our family in this way. Again, I go back to just the fundamental relationship between a man and a woman about a career and a job. And are we really going to move across the country for this job? That argument goes on and tears apart families all the time. This thing could escalate in terms of, like, if she wants this dude out of football.
She does.
And she keeps putting her foot down, he can talk about playing until he's 45 all he wants. He may have to do it without her. She's already won the Trump battle. You're not going to the White House. Right. She won that battle, and he didn't go. She'll win this battle. She's got more than half the money, and she's got all the Gisele. She's got most of the leverage.
It's ironic that this would come out 3 days after he says he wants to play until he's 45
Well, and by the way,
years old,
what's interesting is he says that. Is it not a coincidence that it comes out 3 days after?
No.
Exactly.
That's her press release.
Right. No, there's no question about it. Again, I know you two guys are married. Warren, you've been married.
Anymore,
yeah. Again, this is commonplace. This debate goes on in y'all's home. When you moved from Connecticut to Los Angeles, maybe everybody was on board, but there was some discussion.
My wife wants me to work till I'm 70, so that's the opposite.
Stay out of it.
The Celtics looked totally outmatched last night, falling behind early and never really competing. Boston just landed the #1 pick in next month's draft. But Celtics legend Paul Pierce says they need to trade it if they want to compete with LeBron, explaining, quote, "You have to build on this momentum. If you can acquire Paul George, Jimmy Butler, or Gordon Hayward from Utah, you have to do it.
Yes.
You need these guys. You want to get over the top." Boston doesn't praise winning the Eastern Conference. They're going for a championship. Colin, do you agree with Paul Pierce?
100%. Now, Danny Ainge is considered smart guy, right? I mean, we think of him as pretty successful.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Last 22 players drafted, 0 All-Stars, a lot of whiffs, several guys out of the league. Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart are his hits. Okay, this is an inexact science. This is an inexact. Here's what's not inexact. Jimmy Butler can play. Gordon Hayward can play. By the way, all those guys, including Kawhi, took 5 years to get great, 4 years to pop. Markelle Fultz won 9 games. I looked up this morning who he beat in college. Western this, Southern that, Central that, directional schools. Looked like a road map. And Oregon State. Who'd he beat? I mean, if you're as good as him, Carmelo Anthony took a team in college in the in the Big East and carried them to a title.
Yes.
This guy won 9 games in the Pac-12.
Big time red flag.
Listen, I think most people blame that on the coach, but you've made a great point. And clearly, if you're Boston, you got Isaiah Thomas at age 28. You got Brad Stevens going into his 3rd, 4th year as a head coach. You're in a win-now mode, and you got to make a trade. You got to acquire a veteran player and a big-time player. They don't need a good #2. They need a 1A, 1B situation with Isaiah Thomas. And so, yeah, Jimmy Butler, Gordon Hayward, Paul George. And again, I said this yesterday. I'm going to repeat it again. If I'm the NBA, I make damn sure it happens. I want some competition in the East. And if I have to manipulate things, hey, Paul George, I know you want to go home, but we'd rather have you in Boston, I'd do it. They sent Chris Paul to L.A., send Paul George,
Look, if they can get Paul George, by all means, trade the pick. Here's the problem. You can't get George to fully commit to staying in Boston long term. He's got 1 year left on his deal. You can't do a contract extension with him this summer. All you can get is a verbal from Paul saying, I'll stay.
You can't do a sign and trade?
No, because he's not a free agent.
Oh.
So that's the risk involved there. So I can't trade for Paul George unless I know 100% I got him for the long haul. Gordon Hayward don't need to trade for him.
Gordon
he's a
with the
free
good hair.
agent. Gordon with the good hair, right? You can get him as a free agent. So my plan A would be keep the pick, sign Gordon Hayward as a free agent, and then let Avery Bradley go in free agency and see what I can do with money. See if Markelle Fultz, I start him next to Isaiah Thomas and see what happens there. Or I would not rule out drafting Lonzo Ball, because he is the better team player in my opinion.
Isaiah Thomas is a shoot first, attack first point guard. That's not what Lonzo Ball is.
But Ball's a team player,
right?
So you could put Isaiah.
But he
at
likes
the
the
two.
ball
He's
in his hand.
Yeah, Isaiah would be like essentially a 2 guard, like Kyrie Irving is with LeBron.
Gordon with the good hair, Hayward, in Boston. The people in Boston wouldn't be eating clam chowder anymore. They'd be eating him up, going nuts on him.
First,
they love you.
They'd build a statue out there for him before he got there.
First team All-NBA, average age 27 and a half. This is a 19-year-old kid. This is a man's league in May and June.
Yes.
This is what wins in this league. By the way, LeBron's team is almost too old. I mean, let's be honest. If LeBron doesn't win, they're going to get younger. He's going to move. Channing Frye's not going to be around. Kevin Love may move. The idea of the last, let me look this up, of the last 12 #1 picks, 8 of 12 never won a playoff series with their original team. Like, let's get out of this whole thing. In the last 25 years, you've never had your top two.
None of these picks, I don't care who they are, not one of these picks is coming in there and changing the culture of a team the way Larry Bird did, the way LeBron did.
Like, I think Lonzo Ball. Yeah. I don't want to toot the guy's horn.
What? Based on
what he did in college.
They didn't even win the Pac-12.
They were 31-5.
Who cares?
They got to the Elite or Sweet 16.
They didn't win the Pac-12. They lost to Kentucky.
Because you had Arizona and Oregon, who were two great teams.
Like they say, he makes people better. How much better did he actually make UCLA? Like,
they were 15 and 17 the year before.
What is he going to do next year? He's going to be 19. What is he really going to do for the Lakers? They ain't making the playoffs with Lonzo Ball.
They don't have pieces around it.
He's a great player.
He is.
I don't think
he's going to make guys better.
Saying that it's not going to have the impact of Bird and Magic. Well, who is?
But no,
that's not much of a point.
But there's these transcendent players. No, that ain't transcendent. That's a good NBA player.
Here's what neither Magic nor Larry were 19 when they entered the league.
That's
Magic
true.
was 20. Magic
Exactly.
had 2 years.
But Magic went to the team with the MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And so, but the other point is, I heard all this commotion about this is the most important draft lottery in history. And I was just like, what? This ain't Hakeem and Michael and Sam Bowie. You're more likely to draft Sam Bowie than you are Hakeem or Michael because it's a crapshoot, because we are talking about 19-year-old kids. And so the slotting is far more important than any player that someone's talking about getting. Most of us saw glimpses of Lonzo Ball. Most of us, Chris, you saw more than a glimpse. And then the rest of these kids is all off spec what we saw. And the one folks didn't even make the NCAA tournament.
Well,
it's like
it's something you talk about a lot, cultural changes. Not only are guys coming in at 19, but because of AAU, they're not coming in with dog. They're friends. Andrew Wiggins, he's got a 4 personality. So the idea that you're going to take a 19-year-old, you start looking around this NBA, you're going to have to match it with LeBron or Draymond or... Part of this league has always been the great players have the alpha in them. The world's changed. They're not only younger, not a lot of these guys grew up starving, hunger, alpha, dog.
That's not Kobe was from
different
he's
generation.
A dog, but he came from means.
His dad was an NBA player,
they had a ton of money.
But
Michael Jordan was middle class.
It was
Those
different,
are the 2 biggest killers
but it
we
was
know.
Different.
Magic, middle class.
Whoa. I think one of the points you're missing, Kobe raised by an NBA dad. Here's what doesn't happen.
So was Steph Curry.
No, I understand that. And that's why
that's
why they're so great. But what they are missing at 19 when you enter the NBA now is you used to stay 2 or 3 or even 4 years in college, and they taught you how to win, how to prepare to win.
Right.
A lot of these kids, they don't understand. They don't even know what hard work is. And I hate to sound like some old fuddy-duddy. And so that's what's missing.
Well,
Kobe got all of it.
no 19-year-old is stepping right in and changing your fortunes right away.
And every season,
but they could become great players.
You know who Lonzo Ball was of the 2015 draft? D'Angelo Russell. He could pass. Yes, we were talking about. He makes people.
He doesn't play like Russell. He plays totally different.
No, but I'm saying in terms of what we were talking about.
He ain't 6'6". We gotta go, Mike. All right, welcome back to Speak for Yourself. I'm joined now by the co-host of The Herd, Christine Leahy. She'll be with me for the rest of the hour. Also joined by Chris Broussard and Eric Davis. All right, let's turn now to LaVar Ball's appearance on The Herd yesterday. The outrageous father of Lonzo Ball went on Colin's show to talk about his son in the NBA draft, but the discussion turned ugly. LaVar refused to look at Christine Leahy and told her, quote, to stay in her lane. When she questioned the success of his Big Baller brand and his general disrespectful attitude, things got even more ugly. Things have turned even more ugly, Christine, in my opinion, via social media. And then also now on what I believe to be the most popular urban hip-hop station, most powerful, Charlemagne the God, did a commentary labeling you the donkey of the day. And this kind of sent me over the top because he went as far as to analogize this to what happened with Emmett Till, and that your suggestion that it came off to you like, is he threatening you? You asked that question. Somehow he analogizes this to Emmett Till. And what I think Charlemagne being irresponsible, being caught up in this social media era that we're in, where we try to exploit and sensationalize anything and everybody. And everybody's just fodder to be exploited and demonized. And there was an over-the-top demonization and a completely inappropriate demonization of you and your interaction with LaVar Ball. LaVar Ball was inappropriate. I don't think he was so classically inappropriate he needs to be thrown in jail, banned from television or anything like that. But I do think he was dismissive, condescending, came off sexist. And then I could understand why you, in that moment, being treated that way, thought like, hey man, you threatening me? I totally get it. For Charlamagne the God to use his platform, the most powerful urban hip hop station in America with a huge following, to throw that kind of heat on you when your intentions weren't malicious at all, your interaction with LaVar Ball wasn't disrespectful at all. For him to throw that kind of heat on you and your family, way out of bounds. To analogize it to Emmett Till, one of the worst tragedies happened in American history because you questioned the guy in a polite way. Man, are you threatening me? This is ridiculous, and it plays into a racial politics that has gotten out of hand or via social media. Charlamagne, stop it. Cut it out. Grow up. Be a man. You don't need that to build your following. You don't have to demonize someone inappropriately and just wrong. Social media, people over Twitter, please stop and think. We're being racially divided for no reason, for the entertainment of people over Twitter and Instagram. This needs to stop.
That's exactly the unfortunate thing, is that this was never supposed to be a war, and it's turned into it. It was never supposed to be a war between me and LaVar, between me and Charlamagne the God, and now it's turned into that. It's not a war on race. It's not a racial discussion. It's not a feminist discussion. It was about respect, purely respect. And you know, I did ask that question, are you threatening me? Because what he said to me was that I have something coming to me. And if he wanted to have a respectful conversation where he answered me and said, no, of course not, or clarified, it would have been done there. But he continued and said again that I had something coming to me. So in that moment, I don't know how else I can interpret that. Also, I encourage everyone, he has now turned the words to say that I accused him of child abuse. I would encourage everyone to please go watch the clips, which are out there, in full length of me discussing it. I don't need to rehash it now or defend myself. I never accused anyone of child abuse. That is a very, very serious issue, and I would never go there. And to Charlamagne the God, I would love to go on your show. I've actually been a fan of The Breakfast Club. And if we can have a healthy conversation about this and make some good come out of it, let's do it.
Put some respect on your name.
Put some respect on my name.
Put some respect on it. You know what? That's what happened yesterday. I think there was a lack of respect. And I told you before, you know, good for standing your ground. LaVar, this, as athletes, and that's what we do on here, we discuss athletes. And as athletes, you can discuss someone's play. You can discuss their technique. You can discuss the game. When you talk personally about an athlete, they take it personally. LaVar Ball is not an athlete. He has no game. So everything that you say and the way he was going back on everything, it's all personal to him. And I think that, as you just said, he could have had a different type of discussion and not been disrespectful. And it turned into something that is getting ridiculous, as you said, simply because things were misunderstood. I think that was barbershop talk when he said, he was basically trying to say, in my opinion, you're coming at me and you're talking trash to me, I'm going to talk some trash to you. But he didn't take the time to explain that. So all of this nonsense is
I would have welcomed the trash talk for the record.
Absolutely. And that's the issue that this has turned into.
Personally, I think it's gotten way out of hand. I mean, I know you didn't mean anything racial by it. I don't think he meant anything. I don't think he was disrespectful to women. He was disrespectful to you, for sure. The hand in the face, you know, not looking at you. But I think he's in the public now. He's going to have to learn how to handle criticism. And I think we as critics are going to have to know that, look, sometimes people are not going to like when we talk about them, and they're going to come back at us, and we all have to deal with it in a professional manner.
I'm going to end on this note. I said this yesterday. There is some LaVar Ball in me. We are cut from the same cloth. I grew up at my father's bar, the Masterpiece Lounge in Indianapolis. Know plenty of guys like LaVar Ball. LaVar, talk all the smack you want on me. No problem with it. We can talk smack and back and forth to each other. We know each other's vibe and language. again, I'm rooting for LaVar Ball. I really am. I wish he would clean up some of his behavior so we could talk about his son and maybe even talk about the shoes rather than all the conversation being about LaVar Ball. LaVar, there will be people like me that will say, you're doing your son a disservice. You're going to have to deal with that. And if you want to come on and engage with me or talk smack about me saying you're doing a disservice to your son, that is fine. We can do that respectfully, disrespectfully. But again, this issue here, I just want to say again to Charlamagne, inappropriate to put that kind of heat and pressure on a person and to do that to their family. We have to quit exploiting each other over social media.
This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Obviously, follow us on social media. Boy, Celtics #1 pick, gonna be a lot of fun. I'm kind of siding with Cowherd here on trading the #1 pick, but what if you can somehow get Gordon Hayward for nothing and somehow trade for Paul George without giving up this year's #1, but give up next year's #1? Is there a chance that could happen? I don't know. Danny Ainge is in the driver's seat. Such a great place to be. No show tomorrow, folks. We'll see you on Monday. Talk to you then.